Antinatalism and Kant's Universalizability Principle. Introduction. One could say that if antinatalism were to be universalized and that led to humans no longer existing, then antinatalism would be self-defeating. And self-defeating things cannot be morally right. This critique stems from a misunderstanding of the universalizability principle on its logical structural level. The universalizability principle. Universalizability is a way to convey Kant's categorical imperative. It states that the only valid moral maxims are those that could be rationally willed to be a universal law. To see whether a maxim is universalizable, we can imagine a world where everyone obeys the maxim in question. If it can be achieved and the maxim's concepts are still coherent, the maxim is universalizable. What does it mean to have a world where everyone obeys the maxim? It means the maxim can be acted out or followed by everyone, and the concept is still valid in that world. In that world, everyone still understands and properly uses the core concept behind the maxim. Everyone's expectations of social interactions still hold. Logically, a maxim is valid when the following holds. If everyone obeys the maxim, then the core concepts of the maxim are still coherent. One thing to note is that Kant's principle cannot say which potential maxims are actually true. It can only say which ones cannot be true. The most known example is the case of lying. In our world, we expect people to tell the truth when they can face bad consequences. But imagine a world where everyone lies not to face the consequences of their actions. Then no one expects people to tell the truth in such situations. If no one expects people to tell the truth, no one can lie. Lying is possible only when others expect you to tell the truth. This would lead to the contradiction of the maxim lie to get out of bad situations. No one could follow this maxim as lying would no longer be possible. It could no longer be a coherent concept. This example shows that lying to get out of bad situations cannot be universalized, so it cannot be a moral maxim. The universalizability principle and procreation. Now, back to the problem at hand, procreation. Imagine a world where people simply stop having children. No human procreation from this point. Everyone abides. The concept of procreation is still understandable for everyone. After some time, humans go extinct. The obvious question is the concept of procreation still coherent? By coherent, we simply mean that people don't contradict it. People don't behave as if the concepts and prescriptions were no longer sensible. If one wants to act out the maxim, one can do it. This is the key. If no one breaks the maxim's core concepts, the maxim is not invalidated. Next, we'll analyze this insight in more detail. Logically, a maxim fails the test when everyone is following the maxim, no one can follow the maxim anymore. And this is crucial. Going to this level of analysis allows us to see the logical structure of the universalizability principle. Imagine that there are no humans. The above conditional structure will not invalidate. It's still valid and true, even though there is no one there. This is because of the conditional or the if-else structure. If the first part is not being met when everyone is following the maxim, the second part, no one can follow the maxim anymore, is not even relevant anymore. When the if part is not being met, the conditional is valid and true. Additionally, since there is no one there, the no one can follow the maxim anymore isn't being invalidated as it's not being invalidated by anyone. The logical analysis tells us that the disappearance of humans will not lead to any incoherence of a moral prescription. It shows that it will still be coherent and valid. So what if morality ceases to exist? An additional counterpoint is that if antinatalism were adhered to by everyone, it would make morality itself go extinct, as there would be no one left who could act morally or immorally or even make moral judgments. Morality would simply cease to be. But why would that be a problem? The person making this argument sees this state of affairs as somehow bad, but this can only be said from the perspective of someone in the world with people. In a world without moral agents, there would be no one who could say it's bad that there is no morality. So for whom the absence of morality would be bad? Who would miss it? Who would be worse off? The thing is, it couldn't be bad for anyone. So morality not existing is not a problem in a world where there is no one to whom morality could be applied. And that's the end state of the hypothetical world where antinatalism had become universal. Conclusion. A moral maxim is more like a reason and a prescription for actions that people hold and would want to be followed by everyone. Of course, when there are no people, there are no maxims. There can't be. There is no one who could break any maxim, and there are no maxims to break. Antinatalism is not being falsified by the universalizability principle.